It cracked his helmet.
Henderson breaks free. House call for Ohio State. The Buckeyes can begin planning for Pasadena. There is Smith roaming free. Breaks a tackle. Ohio State strikes quickly. Caught in stride. Abuka touchdown. Buckeyes on fire. It's a Crimson avalanche here in Pasadena. Sawyer knocked it out and picks it up. Ohio State scoop and score. Heavy pressure. Howard delivers downfield. And Smith, he's got it. And Ohio State, who's going to walk out of Atlanta national champions.
The story gets to get told now, and it's a great story about a bunch of guys who have just overcome some really tough situations. There's a lot of people that counted us out. It's the reason why you get into coaching, to see guys overcome things, learn life lessons, and then reach their dreams.
College football national champion Coach Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Well, folks. The Ohio State Buckeyes fall at the hands of the mighty Indiana Hoosiers. The 30-game win streak is over. The Hoosiers have snapped it with a 13-10 victory last night in Indianapolis, shocking the college football world. And I'll tell you what, Rob, college football world is rejoicing. There are gifs, there are memes everywhere of 13-10. Calling back to last year's loss versus the Wolverines, and also calling back to last night. My goodness, man. What are your thoughts?
Hey, you know what?
On before we bring Daniel McMasters on, an Indiana fan, what are your thoughts from last night, Rob?
Well, my thought on 13-10 is the fan base who has been spouting that has yet to make the expanded 12-team playoff. Who they made fun of Ohio State for having to be expanded to win the Natty. So second year in a row where Michigan does not make the expanded 12-team playoff. All right. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say about the 13-10. But other than that,
come on,
dude, this I have so much to say. So much, dude. Like first off, Jermaine Matthews, dude, shut up, buckle in, enough with the trash talk, and just play the freaking game, man. You got burnt over the top 3 or 4 times? 3 or 4,
yeah.
By a tight end, bro. By a tight end. And we're not even talking about that SEC crap. A Big Ten tight end, man.
Were you surprised that the Hoosiers got home so much against Ohio State's offensive line? That are only giving up 5 sacks for the entire season at that point through 12 contests. The Hoosiers matched that total with 5 of their own, and could have been more because there were a lot of holding by the Buckeye O-line and vice versa as well. But what are your thoughts on that?
It looked like Sand was confused a good amount of the game until he was finally able to settle in on those last couple drives. He did miss Ennis open down the field, wide open, dude. I'm like, what are you doing? And then when they're at the 10-yard line, you know, Jeremiah Smith is out there. He does a little in, misses him there. I mean, it's probably a touchdown knowing him, or at worst, it's a 4th and short, or it's a first down. So, and then the play calling, dude, at the end, bro. So let me tell you something. We have 2 first-round wide receivers, and they are off the field on 3rd and 1 when the game is on the line, 3 minutes left. And tight ends. We decided to go with our tight ends, who I just don't even know what we're doing in the situation, because the last time that they scored when they were in the red zone, when the touchdown was to Tate, Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate were on the field, but that last possession, they were off the field. And you know what, dude? You know what, man? I hate to say this, but I thought about what you said, and I feel like Ryan Day was coaching to not lose this game. Like that, and that quarterback sneak, 4th and 1. You couldn't have dialed up something better, dude. Like, bro, Julian saying, like, you don't do a 4th and 1 QB sneak with a quarterback like Julian saying. Like, he fell down.
No, he's not big enough. Will Howard, yes. Julian saying, absolutely not. It's been stuffed all season.
bro. Like it's just
All season.
it's stupid, man.
The thing is, Rob, and I'll say these two things, man, and then we'll bring up my friend Dan. He's on cloud nine right now. But one, we've been terrible in short yardage situations all season long. The I formation, boy, do I love seeing it back. Or I did when I first saw it. But we absolutely suck at it, man. It's not Jim Tressel I formation anymore. We're terrible at the I formation. And in the red zone, like you mentioned, whether it was Brian Hartline being distracted, Dan brought this up when I brought him on Thursday. Is he potentially distracted? I don't know. But the red zone issues have been an issue all season long. All season.
He'll be calling plays in the playoffs. So, but you're right. You're right. You know, this is what it's been like all season. There has been literally no addressing it, and looks like a little 0 to no fixes. It seems like this is a team that's been extremely relying on their defense, which I've been preaching about all season. Ryan Day knows what he has, but dude, this is playoff time, man. You're not going to be able, you know what? Matt Patricia did his job, dude.
Yeah.
You can only get so many stops until you find a crack eventually, dude.
Yeah. Players are going to make plays, and Surratt did.
4 red zone opportunities for Indiana. 3 were field goals.
Yep. Defense locked up in the red zone, just like the Hoosiers did. But let's bring on Dan. As if you saw him, we brought him on Thursday for an interview previewing the game and just discussing how he felt going into the contest. Well, now after the shocking victory, I won't say shocking, in the sense of it was 1 versus 2, but shocking from the college football world. They're all rooting for it. But Dan, how are you feeling today? How is the Hoosier State doing?
The Hoosier State was doing great last night. Today with the football team and the NFL, not so hot, losing Daniel Jones potentially for the year with an Achilles injury, it looked like. We will find out more later. But as far as the Hoosiers are concerned, I mean, it's our Cinderella story for ourselves. You know, we never thought we would even be in contention for a Big Ten title in football, let alone take it against arguably what we've been told all season long is the best team money can buy in college football in the Ohio State Buckeyes. So yeah, it's a weird world and crazy world we live in.
Yeah, the Indiana Hoosiers run the Big Ten right now. Big Ten champions, man. I never thought I would say that for football. And I mean completely serious. I thought Kevin Wilson had some great teams, some great offenses. Allen obviously had great defenses, and he had Michael Penix for a year anyway. And they had some good years in the last 15 seasons, but I never, ever considered that the Hoosiers would win the Big Ten championship. And an expanded Big Ten, by the way. Now, I thought they might beat Ohio State a couple times, and they're very close. You and I texted over the years about them. Very close. But they finally did the deed last night. You are Big Ten champions. Why did you win the contest? What were some of the key factors, in your opinion, that contributed to Indiana taking home a crown?
I mean, we talked about in the preview, pressure and Sam was going to be extremely important to the success and being able to run the ball offensively, at least a little bit on that Ohio State defensive front to give Mendoza time to throw the ball down the field a little bit to, not have to soak up pressure constantly. Those 2 things were key factors. When we talked about special teams at the end, all 3 of those phases had factors in this game. And let's be honest, guys, neither team played a perfect game. I mean, Indiana had too many penalties. 4 penalties for, I believe, 56 yards or something like that. And Ohio State had only 2, but they each had a turnover. They each missed a field goal. It wasn't a clean game by any stretch of our imagination, but it was what a game level the number 1 and number 2 team in the country facing each other should look like.
It was a defensive slugfest, man, and they were going at it 2 heavyweights. Rob, are you concerned a little bit about saying back-to-back opening drives with interceptions, setting up the opponent with great opportunities?
Man, I will say that, it shows you something about a quarterback who's able to, come back and, make little no mistakes the rest of the game. But, it is what it is. I mean, the dude, I mean, give us some grace.
Yeah.
I suppose, but thank God that Ohio State has such a great red zone defense, because I'm like, okay, well, through the interception, we've seen this before. Matt Patricia about to dial up some master classes, and they end up having to settle for a field goal. So, but hats off to Indiana though.
Yep.
The defense really confused saying. I mean, they had him run for his life, or they got to him, or they just didn't give him the amount of time. For instance, Michigan gave him all the time in the world. You look at that interview at the end of the game, and his jersey has not one lick of dirt on it, dude. But man, Ohio State has only given up 5 sacks this season. I mean, no, has only given up what, 4 sacks. They give up 5 sacks this competition, and like, due to the confusion in the blitzes, you missed a wide open Ennis down the field. You
Yeah.
missed a crossing around the inside of Jeremiah Smith when they were inside the 10-yard line. So I mean, yeah. At the end of the day, they executed better. Those 50-50 balls by Mendoza really paid
Yeah.
off, the gutsy throws, and they just they came to play, and they got it done.
I think, and Dan, I'll throw it to you here in a second, but I think something I thought about after our broadcast on Thursday was Mendoza's experience compared to Sayan's youth. I say now you're not a youthful starter 13 games into the season. You're an experienced starter at that time, but you're not as experienced as Mendoza it was, with his Cal starts. And I thought he showed a lot of poise to bounce back from the early interception. How do you think Mendoza played? And I guess what are your takeaways offensively for the Hoosiers?
I've listened to and read a lot of chatter today on X when it comes to the Heisman conversation, and a lot of people are popping off about Pavia. And Pavia would do this, Pavia would do that with Vanderbilt. He had more yards, this, that, and the other. Indiana played
Mm.
the best defense in the country, statistically. They had the second best, that's fair, but they had the best defense facing in the country. What do you expect him to do? What do you expect any quarterback, any offense to do against the number one team? You expect them to put up 30, 40 points against a defense that tough? That's not realistic expectations. If you look at time of possession, it was almost mirror image of time of possession. So there
Yeah,
wasn't really one team playing slower than the other.
Nope.
Mendoza just made more plays down the stretch than Sayan did when he had the opportunity. That third down play with about 2:30 to go in the game, where they could have put pressure if they wouldn't have gotten that first down. But instead of playing conservative, running the ball, they took a chance, threw a deep route, had basically a go route for Charlie Becker. Becker comes down with it, beats his guy on the outside. That's a big first down, lets more clock run off. By the time Sayan gets it on the punt, he has under a minute to go in the game, and you can't really move the ball down to get into field goal range from the 10.
they had like 19
You
seconds
know,
left.
Yeah. I
what
was
what do you
really
expect Sayan to do with that?
Yeah. Did you guys see the since you're on X? Did you see that tweet by Johnny Manziel saying, "Are we really counting basic fade routes as Heisman moments?" I'm just like, what are you talking about, man? Like, bro, just came out of left field with that just
that
nonsense,
was
man.
clutch's life dart of a
I
throw.
mean, if Manziel could have thrown a basic fade route in a championship game, maybe we would have been talking about him a little bit better than that.
Absolutely, man. I'm with you on that one, man. Defensively, man, Dan, obviously both defenses played well. I mean, they weren't giving much up. Mendoza did take advantage of more opportunities. He was seeing the field better. And I think I'm not so convinced Ohio State receivers weren't open. I thought saying because of the pressure in his face, which he has not seen all season, let's be completely honest, 5 sacks total going into the game, and 5 last night for the Hoosiers. Crazy, but it happened. They got pressure with Hardy and from all different people and angles. And Sayin just he took his eyes from downfield and his open receivers, his elite playmakers, and he couldn't quite find as many guys as he typically does. Um, he'll adjust and he'll get better. But yeah, it was an indictment on the Ohio State O-line and a little bit on Sayin as well. But to the point, to the question, why did Indiana do so well defensively last night against that high-powered offense?
Well, just listening to the broadcast, Gus Johnson and Joe Klatt really pointed out the scheme that Brian Haynes has had in that game with the stunts with the offensive lineman, confusing him, not knowing where exactly the pressure was coming from, didn't allow him in his pre-snap read to see it, and then post-snap he still didn't see it until it was too late most of the times. And that's credit to the defensive coordinator. It could be the Bilikikoff winner for best assistant coach based off of that game by itself. Matt Patricia is great, and if Ohio State would have won that game, he probably would have gotten it for the way that defense is.
Do you mean the Broyles Award?
Or the Broyles Award? Sorry, yeah, the Broyles Award.
Yeah.
One thing for me that was interesting, especially offensively for Ohio State, is those underneath routes in that first quarter. Jeremiah Smith was getting his hands on some balls, building some momentum. But after that first quarter, it's like it disappeared. Him and Carnell Tate were just going downfield. They were trying to get chunk plays instead of taking the underneath routes, which Indiana was kind of giving them. Why wouldn't you call more plays to take what the defense gives you and move down the field that way instead of just chucking the ball down the field?
There weren't enough adjustments made from Hartline or Day, in my opinion, with that, because they were beating your guys in that first quarter. But Pons, what a player, man! Giving up 7 inches. He locked down Jeremiah Smith on that goal line fade, and many other times and many other routes. I didn't think that was possible. I thought Smith would get his, and Pons did a really good job of locking down Jeremiah Smith.
I don't know if you guys caught it in the broadcast, but they're high school teammates. Pons and Smith.
They played against together in high school. But I just wanted to touch real quick on what you said about defensive coordinator Haynes, that he would confuse saying change it pre-snap and then change it post-snap, and he wouldn't even notice it. That's exactly what Matt Patricia has done to offenses, to quarterbacks all season, man. All season, dude. So, I mean, if you have a defensive coordinator who can do that, to throw a quarterback like Sayin off his A game, then kudos. Hats off to Haynes.
But it's crazy though. And he hasn't looked like this all year. Maybe it's because they haven't faced the stiffer end of the competition or what defensively, but he looked like a redshirt freshman Sayin did at different points in that game.
He did. His completion percentage was still high, but like I mentioned, he took his eyes from downfield and his reads, and he was confused. You did a great job of getting in his head, and not only getting in his head, but applying pressure from different spots, like you also mentioned. And yeah, he did look like a redshirt freshman at times. I've never seen Sayin lacking poise in this season, even versus Texas or versus Michigan right after the pick. He locked back in, dialed back in, and was right there. He usually gets the ball out really quick, but because they were switching things post-snap, so they weren't available, even though their receiver is open. So, I mean, dude, kudos to Haynes, man. He did a phenomenal job. Called a great game.
Him and Mendoza are like lock and lock in terms of stats. Mendoza, 23, 222 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Julian Sayin, 21 for 29, 258 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. What I blame in terms of the second half was absolutely play calling, dude.
Yeah.
Play calling, man. The difference between Mendoza and Sayin is they were giving Mendoza more opportunities in terms of play calling to take those shots. For Sayin, I don't even know what they were calling for him in in the second half. It was night and day, dude. And it's making me question Brian Hartline as a play caller. You know what? Great recruiter, great developer, wide receivers, obviously. But in terms of play calling in the red zone, it's just been questionable all season. And last night was just like I I just don't see it.
I want to get your guys' thoughts since you're talking play calling. I have not once ever seen really in my watching college football Ohio State run a trick play. What made Ryan Day call a trick play on what third down and have that pass from one end of the field to the other end of the field? It got him a first down, especially with that penalty
Yeah.
on the low block, which is a weird worded penalty anyway.
Right. I didn't know
But
that was a thing.
but I've never seen them call a trick play or a wrinkle like that. Why now? Why the Big Ten championship game do you throw that out there?
I mean that was on like the last possession right before they missed the field goal. I would say it was more out of, I would say, desperation, but it's like, okay, like this is a big game. The number one the Big Ten championship is on the line, the number one seed in the college football playoffs on the line. We're not really getting much momentum with our regular play calling. Let's dial up some that will throw them off, and that's what they went with. Now I think they worded that penalty wrong. I mean, no matter what it is, you're not allowed to go below the knees
Right.
in terms of trying to take someone out.
Of course.
But it's just for me it was an odd move by Day to throw a trick play in
Yeah.
a game period, let alone a championship game. But I don't think I've ever seen him
It
throw a
was
trick
very
play now.
uncharacteristic of him. You're not wrong. That's a good observation. I think I somewhat agree with Rob's point, and well, I pretty much do agree with Rob's point. Our stuff wasn't working, and it was time to shake things up and try and get them on their heels, catch them off guard, get them off balance, and see if we can get a little momentum going here. And I think that obviously played a big factor into it. But I'm also reminded of an Urban Meyer quote. I don't think this played into it as much, but maybe it did. Urban Meyer said, "You run trick plays when you don't think you can beat a team straight up." And I don't like Urban Meyer, but that's a
He's
great
right.
quote.
Hey, you know what, Peter? We got to keep that standard because we said the same thing when Ohio State played Washington, and Washington ran that fake punt when it wasn't
Yeah,
even halftime. So we got to keep the same standard, the same energy, dude. It
yeah.
could be that
So
maybe Ryan Day's like, you know what, this play calling straight up, it's not working. We gotta dial up in the bag. So I hope we don't see that play again because I don't like it.
Well, even
the
play calling too. One last thing.
oh,
Why wouldn't you kick it on the first drive that you went for it on fourth down where Sayan's knee hit and then go for it the second time around? Why would you flip that? Because
that's the
now you're putting all
penultimate
the pressure
question.
on the
Uh,
kicker.
That's
I
the
think,
one all Buckeye fans are asking. And it's what I griped about last night for sure.
yeah, I
Rob,
mean
take it away.
that's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, dude, like I get it. This is a game where you got to take the points. You
Yep.
just got to take the points. You're lucky to get in the red zone. You're lucky to get that closest scoring. You're lucky to get in the field goal range. That was the battle. That was the battle tonight. Both teams were fortunate enough to get a touchdown, just one touchdown on each other. They found that crack in the defensive armor. But I mean, again, you're in that red zone. You're in that red zone. You want to take the points at that moment because it's literally, what was it, like the end of the third quarter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the end of the third quarter. You want to tie it up. You definitely want to tie it up. And you know what? You don't make it. Okay, you got another whole quarter to try it again, get some stops, try it again. But dude, like when I saw that quarterback sneak, I'm like, oh, okay, he got it. And when they came back, I'm like, oh my gosh, his knee freaking touched, man. What are we doing here?
Yep.
And I remember going to X saying, like, I don't an account said, I don't care what this is called. That was a terrible play call. I'm like, yeah, dude, you have a 210-pound Julian saying just kind of along for the ride, getting dragged like a rag doll. better
Well,
way
and
to.
I even called it. I think I texted Peter. I said when it was third down, I said they're gonna throw here on third down, and then they're gonna run it on fourth down because they're gonna go for it. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to take the points in those moments. I mean, you didn't see Signetti getting all getting all aggressive in terms of the red zone because he understood what type of game it was. This is a
Yeah.
game where it's a defensive battle. You take the points. You
He
take the
kept
points
his
down.
head. Signetti did, and Dan made a good point via text last night. He said he was trying to match the touchdown that Indiana had just gotten, and I get that point. I do get it,
It's not a pissing
but
match.
I don't get it because in that contest, 3 ties it up, and it's a less pressure on the kick. Fielding, he's done this before,
You turn
but
to a pissing match, dude.
yeah, it's a less pressure kick. It's not if I miss this kick, the game's over, which is what it turned out to be at the end because we didn't kick in that situation the
Oh
first time.
yes. Speaking about that kick, Peter, I sent you the video. So these Indiana fans, these two older men, they were having a dialogue with Jaden Fielding about like, hey, you gonna kick the game winning field goal? And Fielding's like, like he's like, you should be more confident about this. And the other guy's like, why is this even a conversation with this dude? And just like you could tell Fielding was just like to me, that's the sign of someone is like, I don't want this opportunity. That's the body language that I read was
Shrinking from the big moment.
I hope I don't have to have this opportunity.
Well, I
And
don't
that
know if this is part of his pregame routine, but he's out there doing trick shots before the game, kicking it off the
enough is
post.
enough.
I think, yeah, I've seen a lot of kickers doing that. Actually, I don't know if it's an Ohio State thing, but I've seen a lot of kickers doing that at Ohio State. But yeah, that's crazy, man. You can't teach pressure. You can try and simulate it, but until you're in that situation, because it was a clean snap, it was a clean hold. The laces were forward. There is no excuse. I'm not blaming players, but daggone, that's a really poor moment, especially a
Yeah.
week after you say, I hope I get to kick a game winner versus Michigan to redeem myself.
Yeah. Poor guy's being called a domestic terrorist. Doesn't want said he should have a scholarship pulled. Doesn't want to see him step foot on the field again, dude.
Well, even his first one that he made was really close
Terrible.
and borderline to going too far and being hooked. So
I held
so
my
there was
breath.
the danger sign there on the first one that he actually made, but then the
That's
second
probably
one.
why Day went didn't he tried to go for it, man, until he had no choice. But I got to bring in my kicker. He probably who knows? Maybe he saw that. I don't know. But the fact that you're a kicker for the Ohio State University and you're having a dialogue with a bunch of nobody Indiana fans who are just working class people.
Even entertaining the conversation's kind of
Yeah,
ridiculous, but
I mean that'd be like Peter and I being being front row seats on the other side and trying to get into a dialogue with the Indiana kicker. Just like if that dude gets a dialogue with us, I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. Like why is he letting us get inside his head? You get what I'm saying? Like it
I
just
do.
shouldn't have happened.
Well, regardless, the Indiana Hoosiers are Big Ten champions. They've locked up the 1 seed in the playoffs. In my opinion, Mendoza has locked up the Heisman Trophy, bringing it to Bloomington for the first time ever. And yeah, Big Ten outright champions for the first time in 80 years and first time conference champions, obviously, since 1967. It's got to feel great, Dan. But speaking of playoffs, we're going to transition here really quickly, and we're just going to super hit. Give me 2 takes about the playoffs as you enter as an Indiana Hoosier fan. How are you feeling about matchups, bracket, etc., whatever you want to touch on? I know that's a little hard, but two takes, and Rob, you'll go next, and I'll finish off.
Notre Dame not making it and then taking their ball and going home, not playing in a bowl game because of it. That was interesting for me
Yeah.
because I mean, someone was going to get left out. We were told by the committee that the conference title games shouldn't penalize you, and that's why Alabama's in there. but then you go head to head with Miami. You lost the head to head with Miami during the
Yep.
year. Someone's got to get the short end of the stick here. I'm sorry that's got to be you, but according to the way they discussed it throughout the year, the parameters, unfortunately, you're out. I think both teams have good shots making it to the final. There is that potential for a tricky matchup in Dallas for Ohio State because I think don't they play in the Cotton Bowl?
Cotton Bowl, yep, versus either Miami or A&M.
And that could be an A&M Ohio State game in Texas. That's not favorable necessarily. I think you're better than A&M,
Yeah.
but playing in Dallas doesn't help things. It's almost like a road game for you guys at that point. I think Indiana's road is definitely a little bit easier because I think both Oklahoma and Alabama are flawed in some way. And then playing the winner of Oregon, the health of Oregon is key to those wide receivers as well as Texas Tech. Really good offensive team or defensive team, I should say. I don't know how great they are offensively because they really haven't played much competition that's really great outside of the Big 12. But I think both teams have legit chances. I just that potential of Georgia Ohio State for that semifinal game, it looks a lot stiffer than Indiana and Texas Tech if that is what it's supposed to take place.
It's gonna be fun to see if the Hoosiers can continue the momentum and keep it rolling. I think they can. I think they have a great chance of reaching definitely the semis, if not the national championship game. Rob, how about you, man? 2 takes from the bracket revealing today.
Well, Indiana, the ball is in your court. You won the Big Ten championship. You were undefeated. You get the bye. Now, may I remind you what happened to last season's team who won the Big Ten championship got that bye. They got completely waxed. It was 34-0 by halftime. Now, I know that's not going to happen to Indiana, but do
deep.
something with that bye week. Do some of that number 1 seed. All right. And the other thing, how in the world does a 3-loss Alabama team get in, dude? I don't understand that. Notre Dame, you're soft for declining a bowl game invitation. And the 2 semifinal matchups I would look for the most is Georgia, Ohio State, and a rematch of Indiana, Oregon. Those would feed families for years, man. And I mean years. And this quarterfinal would feed a family for years. And that would be Ohio State versus Miami.
Yeah, remnants of the 0-2 national title game. That'd be a lot of fun to watch.
And then the final, that would just be bonkers. It'd be the first time since the 2021 playoffs, which was a rematch of the SEC championship game, Alabama versus Georgia. Can that be simulated? Can that be duplicated with a rematch of Ohio State versus Indiana? We'll see what happens. May the best team get to the national championship and win it all.
Yeah, I'm not rooting against the Hoosiers by any means. I love the Cinderella story. Of course, it was at our expense yesterday, Rob, and so that's painful, and I had to swallow that and deal with that today and deal with a lot of talk being in the state that I live in from a bunch of Michigan fans who aren't even competing in this year's playoff again, but it is what it is. They're going to get their shots in. For me, the interesting takeaway is Ole Miss, how they're going to perform with their elevated defensive coordinator taking over for the scumbag that is Lane Kiffin, leaving his team high and dry and taking the money and going. I'm not saying I wouldn't do the same thing in that situation, but, man, you recruited those players, you talked to those families, and you have a chance to win a national championship, and you're just going to leave, you're a piece of scum. Now, you're not there to develop men. That's very clear. That's very clear. But that's always been clear with Lane Kiffin. Now, the other thing, Ohio State locking up the 2 seed, I think that makes sense. I mean, I thought they might drop to 3 or 4 potentially, but I mean, as you touched on, Dan, they said they weren't going to harm teams for losing in conference title games, especially if it's a 3-point loss to the nation's now number 1 team, the Indiana Hoosiers, for the first time in history. Congrats on that too. Awesome accomplishment. Awesome season you guys are having. But the Buckeyes are number 2. They got a chance to collect themselves again, do what they did last season, and make a run. Or they can lie down. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what kind of leadership that this team has. Downs is a great leader. Ennis is a great leader. I don't expect them to lie down at all. I expect them to go
We all know what
balls
happened.
to the wall again and make another deep run.
We all know what happened the last time they lost 13-10. The rest was history, man.
Yep. Well, that's going to do it for this one, man. Dan, thanks for coming on again. I really appreciate you giving some insight, man, and asking some good questions as well. It was a lot of fun, man, and congrats for winning the Big Ten championship. Hoosier hysteria has got to be at an all-time high. I am really stoked for you and other Hoosier fans I met in my time in college. Really stoked for you guys. What a season, what a moment. And soak it in. I hope you are, man. And congrats and good luck on the playoffs. I truly do hope we meet again because it would be phenomenal. I don't know what your take is on that. It would be fun to see these teams play again and have a chess match play out once more.
Oh, dude, that'd be great. That'd be one.
That would be the dream. That would be the dream.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again. That's gonna do it for this one. Go Bucks and God bless. We'll see you on the next one.
OH.
IO. Go Bucks, baby.